All right, fantasy owners, we're still talking the Week 3 preview here on the Fantasy Football Stock Report. Now we're shifting gears to the guys that really kind of let you down last week, probably cost you a win, like me. So these are the duds. These are the guys that didn't come through for us, but maybe going forward, either we avoid them or what can we count on them? Can we really rely on these guys going forward? Let's dive right in. Starting, of course, with one of the most important positions. That's the quarterback position. And you got to start off the bat, at least for me, Thursday night game, Jay Cutler of Chicago. What a letdown performance for him going up against that Green Bay defense. It was just a tough day. 11-27 for a $126. Had a touchdown, but the downside was 4 interceptions. That was just the thing that really tugged at us, ripped out our hearts, because that's in a CBS league, that's 8 fantasy points lost. So even if he was putting up good numbers, it all went for naught. And you hope and pray that he didn't have that kind of outing every week. But Cutler's been shown that he's been prone to throwing a lot of picks. So really, can you rely on him as a starter going forward? It just really depends on the matchup with him. I see him as more of a number 2 guy, but nothing more than that, because you just don't know. You don't know what he's going to do. I mean, yeah, he's got a nice weapon now in Brandon Marshall, but he's really the only guy that I think he's really got involved. So it's just temper expectations with him. He's just a guy that I really, really worry about. Adrian Peterson. I said on here last week that the guy was going to carve up the Colts, that he definitely should be in every single lineup. We thought he was back for sure. And what does he do for us last week? He only gives us 80 total yards, only 16 carries for 60 and 3 catches for 20. It's nice to see that they're using him in the passing game now, and they have said that they are going to increase his touches. So maybe this was just the fact that they were still trying to reduce that workload on him, see what he could handle in that knee. It just mattered, but we expected so much more. So obviously this week going up against that 49ers defense, I got to say AP is a risky start because that defense is tough, is strong. AP has not had much success against the 49ers. Do you really dare it? Do you really risk starting AP? I'm not going to this week. I'm starting Andre Brown in place of AP because I think I'm playing the matchups. It's a better matchup for me. So I don't like the matchup this week. If you can't afford to bench AP, then don't. If you don't have better options on your bench, but you might have to this week because it's just you can't expect much from him this week. Darren McFadden of Oakland. Boy, what a disappointment he was as well. He has been a big dud this year, and yet he's healthy. Only has had 54 yards rushing through 2 games. That's an average of 27 per game. That's 2 fantasy points. It's just an absolute disappointment. And this week, not getting any better. Has to play the Steelers this week. Do we dare say bench Darren McFadden? You better. If you want to be smart, that Steelers defense, there's no way that he goes off on them. I just don't see it happening. Jamal Charles of Kansas City. We thought he was back after the first week. Apparently, he doesn't have the recovery time that AP does. A paltry 6 carries for 3 yards. That was definitely that really hurt us. He had next to nothing. The guys behind him got opportunities like Peyton Hillis and something named Sean Drone or something. I don't know. If he doesn't perform well against the Saints, it may be time to really bench him until he produces again. For now, maybe give him one more week. Treat him as a number 2. See what happens with him. But if he doesn't produce against New Orleans, it may be time to bench him, or maybe, dare we say, even cut the guy loose, because you want guys that can produce. DeMarco Murray of Dallas, this was sort of expected. We always know that the Seattle run D is always tough, and it was shut. And Mark Murray was shut down for only 12 carries for 44 yards, but he should bounce back really nicely this week because he's going up against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay just got shredded by the aforementioned Andre Brown. So you should definitely start DeMarco Murray with confidence. This is a dream matchup for him. He should perform very nicely for you. Sean Green of the Jets. This guy has been let down city. I bet this guy longs to be back at Iowa right now where he was playing college ball. He'd be an upgrade to the Iowa offense. I can tell you that much right now because he's doing absolutely jack in the Jets' backfield. Absolutely nothing. He got outgained by something called Bilal Powell. I mean, I don't even know who that is. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. 11 carries for 23 yards. That's not even average. That's slightly more than a yard a carry. That's pathetic, and with a capital P. I don't think Green is worth starting again until he has a breakout game or a dream matchup. Because Miami this week, he's playing Miami, and they just shut down Darren McFadden. So don't start Sean Green. It's way too big a risk. This guy's probably going to be on this list until he has a breakout game too. Chris Johnson. Another big-time disappointment. 8 carries for 17 yards this week. And maybe once again time to send the player formerly known as CJ2K to your fantasy bench. Because, and he had to make the complaint comments, oh, my offensive line isn't getting the job done, no matter what defense we play. Well, it also doesn't help if you're not the same back that you were when you were, years ago. So, and it doesn't help that they played 2 tough matchups with New England and San Diego. But that eliteness, it's gone, folks. It's up to me right now. It's honestly gone. There's nothing there. They play Detroit this week. They play my Lions. That's not an easy matchup for CJ2K either. I'm not really calling. Why am I still calling him that? He's not that. He's not that anymore. But can you really afford to bench him? I don't know. Unless you have, I hope you have better options than that. If you don't want to play him, by all means, don't play him. But Detroit Steve's been improved. I think I see him right now. Maybe give him, again, kind of a Charles Lewis, one more week. A low 2, high 3. But if this week doesn't pan out, you might want to consider sitting him going forward unless he really has that breakout moment. Speaking of Detroit, Kevin Smith, 16 carries for only 53 yards this week. But one thing was he wasn't expected to do a whole lot against the Niners. And 2, his time as a starter is probably likely over because Mikel LaShore this week comes back from suspension. So probably Kevin Smith's time as a starter is done. LaShore is a speedier back. He's younger. He's probably been itching to get on the field since the whole Achilles tendon injury and since his off-the-field nonsense. So he's probably going to be running and gunning to go this week. So Kevin Smith, I think is nothing more than a handcuff going forward to Mikel LaShore. I hate to say this name again on here. The ultimate hair puller. But Julio Jones. I mean, what more do I have to say? I mean, I go all in on this guy. I make an apology to him last week. I make an apology to all the Falcons players I said no to. And what does he do? 4 catches for 14 yards this week. Are you kidding me? I mean, and he gives us this performance. The Broncos were fixed on him all night like polyurethane or plastic or static cling to a dryer, whatever. It just whatever analogy you want to make. They were stuck on him or stuck like glue, the Sugarland song. I don't know. They were just all over him. It's times like this where I drop him down the board. I just don't know what to do with the guy. He got clearly outshone by Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez. It was just nowhere. I mean, just gave us this awful performance. And it doesn't get easier this week. You got San Diego this week. So I think Julio, I don't think you can afford to bench him at this point. I don't think he's benchable just yet, but more of a number 2 guy this week is all I can see him after this performance. If people are going to be fixed on him, his fantasy numbers are obviously going to decline. That'll open the door, though, for White and Gonzalez. Lance Moore in New Orleans. He let us down this week after his breakout performance last week. He becomes the hair puller again. He only had 2 catches for 30 yards. Clearly, we know he's behind on the depth chart, behind the likes of Graham and Colston and all these other weapons that Drew Brees has, and even Sproles. So I think nothing more than a desperate number 3-4 once again. We thought he would break out, but clearly not the case. Quickly, other guys to talk about. Larry Fitzgerald of Arizona. I guess we should have seen this coming in a way. It's funny. John Skelton, when he's starting, loves throwing to Larry Fitzgerald. Kevin Cobb does not. Please make note of this, okay? Larry only had 1 catch for 4 yards last week. 1 catch, 4 yards. 0 fantasy points. Goose egg. Donut, okay? So Kevin Cobb clearly didn't like throwing to him. If you can afford to sit him, it wouldn't hurt until Skelton comes back, but that's probably not an option for a lot of you. The leading receiver last week was Todd Heap, if that tells you anything. Dexter McCluster in Kansas City, he fell back to earth this week. Only 4 catches for 32 yards after his breakout week. So again, because of the hair puller stuff with this, nothing more, I think, than a desperate number 3-4 going forward. A few more guys. Andre Johnson in Houston, he had a rough go of it this week. 3 catches for 21 yards, but Jacksonville was stuck on him all week last week. They were quickly zoning on him, opening the door for other receivers in Houston. He's still a must-start, though, going forward, as long as he's showing no ill effects from those hamstring injuries that besieged him last season. The Bears wide receivers, obviously it was tough for them this week because of Jay Cutler, who I mentioned right off the bat. Brandon Marshall's still a must-start going forward. He's their main weapon, and I think Alshon Jeffrey's going to bounce back, but that's probably it right now for the Bears receiving options. Santana Moss of Washington, apparently RG3 doesn't like throwing to this guy either. He's throwing to the younger guys like Hankerson and all this, and Santana only got 3 catches for 14 yards. But then again, he didn't like throwing to Fred Davis either, who we thought was going to be a high-tier tight end. So both at this point, Moss and Davis, not worth owning. Cut them loose. Kevin Ogletree in Dallas, after his breakout fantasy starness last week, 1 catch for 26 yards this week. I don't see that happening every single week, though. Same thing with Dez Bryant. I think both are number 3 options this week for the Tampa Bay matchup because, again, Tampa Bay just got shredded by Eli Manning. Eli put up 500-plus yards on them. I think they're both solid number 3 options for you this week. The Titans wide receivers, something named Craig Stevens was the team's leading receiver. Again, I don't know who that is. The offense is a joke in Tennessee. Avoid at all costs. Titus Young. I hate to say it. Oh, Titus, my guy, I hate to say it. And I was relying on you to be my number 3 guy. But once again, the dumb decision from last week carried over to this week. You were mostly invisible this week. It hurt, it hurt, it hurt. Sorry, Titus Young, but you're going to Drop City because I can't take it anymore. 1 catch for 11 yards this week in garbage time when the game is already over. Drop City. You're done. Same with Randy Moss. You should drop him too. So much for that dream. I drafted him at number 4 wide receiver. Waste of a draft pick. 1 catch for 14 yards. Drop him. And Jermichael Finley at Green Bay on the tight end front. 4 catches for 26 yards with a fumble this week. You might as well lump Randall Cobb and James Jones in this group too because, the receiving numbers have not been pretty since Greg Jennings didn't play. But the signs are good that Jennings is going to come back this week. And he's a must-start option again. So all signs are in the point to play, and hopefully that'll help out the other receivers there too. I think Finley, Cobb, and Rodgers all bounce back, but Jones, hair puller to the extreme. I don't trust James Jones going forward. Quick injury report for you. The guys that will come back from injuries this week look like Rashad Mendenhall's going to play this week. I see him as a number 2 option against that Jets defense. I mentioned Mikel Lashore. Ryan Matthews of San Diego is also expected to come back this week. I think he's a solid start against Atlanta, and I mentioned Greg Jennings. Matt Forte apparently didn't suffer that high ankle sprain that we thought he did, but his status for this week is still unknown. If he is out, Michael Bush's value goes way up, and is a must start against the Rams. We already mentioned Ahmad Bradshaw. Steven Jackson, we mentioned him. If he plays this week in Chicago, I think he's more of a number 2. Richardson should at least be owned in all leagues. Jeremy Maclin aggravated his hip pointer injury. His status is very much in doubt this week. If he doesn't go, definitely Deshaun Jackson, Brent Selleck must start options. And, of course, Aaron Hernandez. We feared the worst when Edelman fell on his ankle. But the good news is no break. Bad news, high ankle sprain, 4 to 6 weeks out. So, again, look for the other Patriots receivers to go up in targets and value as well. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Good luck, guys. I hope we all get wins. I know that's really not possible. At least I hope I get a win. I need one. But I hope you guys do too. I hope these tips have helped you out. And again, thank you for your patience on this. I know it's been a busy week for me, but I just want to get these tips to you out there and help you guys win this week. Good luck. See you again next week. And thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Stock Report. Thanks, guys.